Okay, so we have 104 participants right now, and we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. My name is Emily Nostro. Yes, you are all muted upon entry. If you guys have a question, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A area. That should be at the bottom of your toolbar. Or if you have a more convoluted question that can't be answered in the Q&A, I can always give you permission to talk at the end, if that's all right with you guys. All right. So, and I have, all right, yes, perfect. Okay, I don't have anyone else from Bookshare or Benetech on with me today, so I will be monitoring both the chat and the Q&A. So please bear with me, because I'm going to try and do a lot of things right now. So welcome. This is the webinar for how to use special collections as an educator. My name is Emily Nostro. I am a former TVI and comms. I used to teach down in Miami-Dade and Broward. I don't know if we have any South Florida people here, but now I work for Bookshare and I help manage our special collections and also help process all the book requests. So if you ever have a book that you need for school for your kiddos, you can always request that to Bookshare. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. I'll just walk you through a very brief PowerPoint, and then we'll go ahead and do a hands-on demo. All righty. So I'm sharing screen one. All right, so special collections for educators. So what are special collections? Special collections are staff-curated public reading lists centered around topics, reading levels, series, and awards. And so you can easily assign these reading lists to your students and give them access to a ton of different books to read. The lists contain anywhere from 10 to hundreds of books. For some of our lists, such as the awards and for the bestsellers, we update those quite regularly. So just because you don't see a book on there, it might be coming. And so these are really great because they allow your students to independently find books that interest them and begin reading in the format that they want. And they don't rely on you, if they are just an organizational member, to assign them the book. All right, let me just make sure that no one's talking in the chat. Have any questions? All right, beautiful. So where can you find the special collections? We have two main places where you can find them. And I'll give you a walkthrough right after this because I know that just providing you with web links isn't always the greatest. So one is on our browse page, and we change our browse page quite frequently. And so we highlight different collections. We have them divided up into categories. So we have collections for kids, collections that interest teens, collections that are more focused on teachers. We have collections for disability resources, general resources. We even have a whole collection of books that are just, or category of books, category of collections that are just in Spanish. And if you ever have any suggestions, you can always feel free to email me. I'll provide my contact information at the end. We also have a ton of district lists. So for some of you guys, you're a member of a district who have requested to put their entire curriculum on Bookshare. And so we have them in reading lists and they can be easily accessible to you guys. And all you have to do is assign these lists to your students, and then they have access to the entire curriculum. So you can go to the browse page, and that's www.bookshare.org/browse, or you can view all of the special collections at www.bookshare/search/collection. And so you can get the whole list of reading lists that we have available to you guys. Now I have, how do we create a district list? And for that, go ahead and email me and we can see whether or not we can do that for you guys. I'll also kind of give you a walkthrough of how to create your own reading list in case you want to share it with other members in your organization. So in your school or in your district, depending on your account type. And so I'll provide my contact at the end if anyone's interested. All right. You can also search by hashtag and it will bring up the different categories. We have over 500 public reading lists or special collections. So they can be quite difficult to navigate through. So I'll teach you some tips and tricks on how to do that. All right. And so how to use your special collections with your students. You're going to browse the special collections and you're going to open the one that you want to subscribe to, or you might open up a few to see whether or not you want to subscribe to them. And then you click the subscribe button, which is the backwards Wi-Fi symbol. And it's going to be at the top of the list. And then you would add your members. So you're going to choose what students that you want to give access to the list. And so the next time your student logs in, they'll be able to see these books under on their My Bookshare page under the My Reading List tabs. And right now, all of these books are available in text to speech. They're also available in Word, audio. Our audio is all text to speech, Braille, and EPUB. So we don't have any human narrated audio yet. But there's a bunch of different programs that you can use to, if your student is having difficulty with the more robotic sounding text to speech, you can go ahead and use those programs. I know we highly recommend Voice Stream Reader. That one does cost money. We're not affiliated with them, but their voices are very human, human sounding. And so I can give you a walkthrough on that in just a second. So yes, I can give you guys a copy of these slides. And right now, the answer to that is no, they are all text to speech. Okay, so I'm going to stop my share while I switch on over to Bookshare. If you guys are logged in on Bookshare, if you guys are currently members, I recommend that you log in and you can kind of follow along with me. If not, if that doesn't work for you, you can just also follow along with me visually and I'll try and describe it as much as possible. All right. So when you log into Bookshare, it's going to look like this. You're going to be brought into your My Bookshare page. And so you'll see down at the bottom, there are recent books and there's also reading lists. And bear with me. So these are reading lists that I've already subscribed to and assigned to students. So there are two main places that you can go to see all of our reading lists. One is right here, up at the top, right underneath the search bar, in the button that says the Browse. I'm gonna click it, and it brings you over to our special collections. So we always have the New York Times bestsellers up at the top. We'll never change that. Our members really enjoy having the bestsellers right there. I've tried moving it down further on the page, did not go well. And then also new books is not a special collection. This is actually every new book to Bookshare. So some of these books are actually published in like 1963 or 1982, not necessarily a new book or a newly published book, but it's new to Bookshare. So just wanted to give you an FYI on that. And I'm going to go down here and you can see we have these different buttons. We have one for kids, for teens, for teachers, for adults, awards, general resources, disability resources, and books in Spanish. So you can click on these to jump down to them. So if I was looking for books for teens, I'd go ahead and jump down to that. But let's say I want to go ahead and look at some of our popular series. What I do is I click in and it's going to bring me to a page. I'm going to look at middle grade, and remember we're thinking about the middle grade context for our readers, and so the publishers define that as usually grades 3 to 8, or grades 3 to 7, really. So I'm going to go over here. I know that I have a student who is really interested in the Dear America series. They're all historical fiction, written in journals. They're very cute. I'm going to go ahead and subscribe it to her. Oh, okay, let's try this one more time. All right. So let's go ahead and, oh, all right, one moment. I'm going to kind of troubleshoot something, and let me stop my video for a second. If you guys have any questions so far, please do let me know. You can drop it in the Q&A. All right. So it does look like Bookshare is experiencing some technical difficulties right now. So the way to access the popular series or to the browse page would be going to www.org/cms./browse, and I can update that for you. It's a recent change. And then the way to access the popular series would be going over to the kids and going into popular series. Now, right now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is walk on over to search all collections. And so I'm hoping that this will take me right over there. All right, beautiful. So this is how to access all of the collections. You could either type in your search bar bookshare.org/search/collection, or you can navigate there from the browse page by clicking search all collections. Now this is going to give you a huge list. It's got 589 public reading lists right now. And so one of the best ways to kind of search through it is we have special hashtags to kind of bring up all the books in that category. So if I wanted to look for books for kids, I could go over here and just click on kids, or I could type that up in the search bar right over here, hashtag kids, and it's going to bring all of our special collections. So I'm actually going to, I got a new student in my class, Jose, he's in 5th grade. I know that he's reading around the 600 lexile. So I'm going to go ahead and give him some special collections that are at his reading level. So let me go over here. I know it's on the 2nd page. I went too far. And so if you know your student's lexile, oops, I guess it's in teachers. I'm going to go ahead and type it at the top. And so I'm going to go and find the list that works for him. And so I'm going to click on the backwards Wi-Fi symbol to go ahead and subscribe to it. I have to subscribe to it. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my members onto it. So I already have one student on there, and now I'm going to add my next student. And so you can also add other teachers in your organization. So either in your school or your district, however your account is set up. And you can give them access. So I'm going to go ahead and add the other teacher that I work with, the ESE teacher. And so now she has access to that reading list as well. Now, if you see a teacher that you work with that is not on your Bookshare account, you can add them there as well. So right under here, it says add sponsors. So you could either add our test sponsor or other sponsors, or you can actually create a new sponsor. And so again, in Bookshare's world, we call sponsors or teachers or educators sponsors. So you can go ahead and set them up with a whole account, even as long as you know their email and their phone number, and give them a password, and then you can get them onto Bookshare as well. All right. Yes, so You can search by author as well. If we have special collections by that particular author. So I know that we do have special collections by some popular authors. So Jacqueline Woodson, who just won the MacArthur Genius Grant, you can go ahead and subscribe to her author set, and I'll show you how to do that. So okay. I'm going to go back over to search all collections. And so if I was looking for that author, I could type in author set, because usually that's what our authors are under. So I'm going to go ahead, find that particular collection, and go ahead and subscribe to it. And I'll add my kiddos onto it. So I'm going to put these guys on here. Now, let me go back and show you how to search by Lexile. So there's actually two different ways you can do that. The easier way is to go to the browse page, and I believe it should be working now. And I'm going to go down over to the teachers area. So we've got our Lexile collections, we have our leveled readers collections, we have our NIMAC collections that you can only assign to your students with IEPs. And then you can view them all right down over here, but I'm actually just going to go into the Lexile collections. So as you can see, we have a ton of different Lexile collections. So I know that I have a student who's in the 300 range. I have a student who's in that 700 range. I want to challenge one of my students with the 800 range. And so I'm going to open these all up in different tabs. And that way I can easily subscribe multiple lists at a time. So again, you click that backwards button and add your members. So I'm going to give this to Kylie, and over here, I'll give this to and Alex. Okay. Over here, I want to just show you this feature right here. This is how to copy a list. And so let's say you want to give them the majority of books that are on this list, but for whatever reason, you know that the student or maybe the parent might have an issue with some of the content on this list. Perhaps they just truly hate Carl Hiaasen. They think he's a terrible author. They don't want their kid learning anything about Florida. So if that's the case, if you find a list that's really great, but you just don't want to give one book or a few books to that student, you can go ahead and copy this list. And so it'll go ahead and say copy. You can edit the description. You can change this of whether or not you want to keep it private. I recommend keeping it private when you're editing it, or if you want to make it available to the members or organization. Now it's only going to be available to members that you assign it to, if that's the case. And then everyone else in the organization can see that you have subscribed it to the list, and they can add themselves or add their students onto it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this list. I'm going to look in the chat to see if I have any questions. And I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, please just let me know. So let me just answer a few of these questions. If you want to get to the popular series, you go to the browse page, www.bookshare.org/cms/browse. Can all of our students use Bookshares, or just the ones who have a disability? So Bookshare is free for students with a print disability. You can go over into our help center to see whether or not your students qualify. You are more than welcome to use your own account or a student's account if you are doing a read aloud in class. So it allows, you can go ahead and play the web reader or demo the Daisy for the students if that's of interest to you guys. And then right. I've got all these books. Now I knew I wanted to remove one. I'm going to go ahead and sort by author. And I'm sorry for scrolling too fast. I know I am. If your district put Read to Go on your district devices to access Bookshare, it's fairly easy. You just need to assign these books to those students. Yeah, Learning Ally does have a looser definition of who's eligible. It's how we both interpret the copyright law. So we do have a cross verification though. So if your students are registered with Learning Ally, typically they do qualify for membership with Bookshare and vice versa. So you noticed a title that didn't have any content. Either that's a problem with opening the file, or if it's a image only book. So the majority of the books that we get actually come directly from the publishers. Occasionally they'll send us books that are all images, and they don't put alt text on them. And so when we convert them, they do not convert well. And so you as a teacher can only, to answer Mariana's question, you can only view books that when you're logged in as a student. So one of the things that I highly recommend for new teachers or teachers new to Bookshare is to create your own dummy student, or use one of your students' logins information. So go ahead and open up books to make sure they look like what they're supposed to look like. Now going to Aura's question, and what I was going to show you guys, how to delete books off of, once you copy them, you can delete them off of, delete certain books. So I'm going to take out the tequila worm because I know that I'm going to have a parent that's going to have a problem with that. And so you can remove as many books as you want from the list, and you can even add books onto here. So if you see that plus sign, I know that I'm going to add Mercy Suarez, changes years onto it. And so I can add a book onto that. And then if you want to assign it to your students, you click over here into assign members. And go ahead, it's going to bring up your roster. And so I'm going to assign all these students. Now, if you realize in this process that you have a student who qualifies for Bookshare who is not on your roster, you can go ahead and also add them by clicking new student. Yes, so I'm going to, now that I've given all these books to these kiddos, I'm going to go ahead and log in as a student so you guys see what it's like. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as Jose. Bear with me as I fight with my auto passwords. Okay. So this is what Jose's account looks like. Jose was created today, brand new. And if you can see, he only has one assigned books, but we gave him a ton of reading lists. So we want to click over there into reading lists, which are what we call the special collections. And he has 4 different special collections. So all your student needs to do is open up the special collection. So they can either click onto that link or open it up in a new tab. And then Jose can pick the book that he wants to read. So actually, he's going to go ahead and read this book, After Tupac and Dee Foster. So he can either use the Read Now, which opens up our web reader, or select the format that he wants to download in. So we'll go ahead and try opening up in web reader. I'll also show you what it looks like when you download a Word file. I highly recommend Word if you guys are using Word, Word Online, or if you have it built in with your school's Canvas, because they have a really nice immersive reader function that I think is actually wonderful for all of your kiddos, regardless of disability. Going to Aura's question, some of my students on Bookshare were assigned, but past year's TVI. To find out their login information, you can always give us a call at Bookshare. You can email me and we can reset the password. And so let me go into my Q&A and see I've got quite a few questions. All right. So again, if you don't know the user, call customer service, and I can give you the number at the end of this. And then I have a question about how to request a textbook or a book that's currently not found on Bookshare. And I'll show you that in just a moment. So if you want to demo what the book looks like, you can go ahead and click on web reader. And so in this case, excuse me. So some of our books have chapter navigation. It appears as though this is a picture book. And so, oh, no. If you ever find a book like this where it does not have the chapter navigation inside, you can go ahead and have your student click right here, report book quality issue, and we'll go ahead and add the navigation in for you. But the student was reading on chapter 2. We go right here. You can adjust your settings, font size, background. You have the B-line reader for any of your students who have difficulty tracking across a line, which has been beneficial for both students with visual impairments and students with dyslexia. You can change the margins, but right now I'm not going to customize it. And also every time you customize it, it'll appear the same the next time the student logs in. And you can use Snap and Read as a reader too, correct. There's a ton of ways to read, and all you have to do is go to the Help Center if you want to explore more or attend one of these webinars. So this is what it sounds like when it's reading. You can change the voices, you can add voices. This is just the very generic, what it looks like before you have customized your settings. Now going back to that question of how to request a book if we don't have it on Bookshare, and I actually highly recommend doing this for both pleasure reading for your students and textbooks. And so you go to advanced search and click on request to add a book. My colleague, oh, your students cannot do this, only your teachers can. So let me log out, log back in. So if requesting to add a book, we go to advanced search and then request to add the book right over here. And if you get lost at any time, just go to the Help Center and type in your question and I'll bring up the page. Or you can go to just directly bookshare.org/book request. Important to note, is this book required for school? Yes or no? If you need it for school, whether or not it's a textbook and you need it for the curriculum, or it's for pleasure reading, but you mandate, reading time, leisure reading in your classroom, go ahead and select yes. We'll only process this book if you select yes. You can put in the title, the ISBN, author, publisher, copyright year, and any additional comments that you have. So sometimes we get students who are like, I need this book by the spring semester, so I'll need it by, January 15th, 2021. You can go ahead and put that in there. And yeah, any relevant information that you have. So, all right, back into the question. 504 students cannot get access to NIMAC right now. And that is due to regulations that pertain to the NIMAC, actually. So if you have more questions or comments for them, I recommend that you go and visit the NIMAC Center to let them know that that is an issue for you guys. We do have, you know, just because we get a lot of books from the NIMAC, but we also typically have another copy of them that have been scanned or proofed by volunteers or given directly from the publishers. Students can bookmark where they left off in the different apps. Sometimes WebReader will go ahead and open up right where the student has left off. There's various different ways. So I highly recommend going into the Help Center and picking your device, and it'll kind of walk you through those steps. And then what's the typical turnaround time for requested books? To be safe, I like to say 3 months. It really does depend on the complexity of the book. If we are proofing a big, giant medical textbook for someone who is, you know, in med school, those usually take a little bit longer. If it's a picture book, they usually come back a little bit faster. But typically we say around 3 months. If you do need it in a rush, you can let us know. Like, I need this book ASAP. We'll put it rushed. Also, if your student is comfortable with using a raw scan, we typically only recommend this for high school and graduate, or not high school, college and graduate students, because the scan will have some typos in it. It has not been proofed. All right, so I'm going to look at the people who have raised their hands. Virginia, let me find you on my list, and right? Did you raise your hand? No? Okay. All right. So I am 5 minutes over, I believe I'm 5 minutes over time. Does anyone have any additional questions, or does anyone want to see anything again? I can definitely walk through it one more time. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of scatterbrained. I'm trying to answer all of your questions right now. So let me go back into the Q&A. Yeah, so the two ways to view the special collections are either through going to the browse page or going to that link that says search all collections. And so that's bookshare.org/search collections. And this will bring you to all 589 of our special collections. So you can spend a lot of time in here, you know, viewing things. There definitely are collections that are more geared to adults, such as the adult nonfiction bestsellers, or even the 100 notable books of 2019. Those are typically contemporary adult fiction and adult nonfiction. So I highly recommend going through this, seeing what's appropriate for your kiddos. If you teach a specific grade level, like 5th grade, you might just want to click on the kids or teachers hashtag. You can also search by series. If you put in the hashtag series, and it'll pull up all the series that we have. We also have a few read-alike pages, our read-alike collections. So like if your student really liked Wonder and you want to give them similar books to that, we have collections like that. And if you ever have any questions or suggestions, feel free to go ahead and email me. All right. How do you get a Bookshare account? So you can sign up at bookshare.org. It will walk you through the process of how to sign up either your organization or as an individual. It will prompt you to search for your school. So if your school already has an account, we can go ahead and add you onto that. If your school does not have an account, or your district does not have an account, you can go ahead and create that. Now, this brings up a really interesting question. Lilibeth asked, are sponsors the parents too? And so that really depends on how you guys are coordinating with your work, schooling from home, remote schooling, hybrid, whatever you guys are doing in your districts. I'm sure it's very different because you guys are from all across the country. So if your school decides, hey, we want our parents to be added on as sponsors, you can go ahead and add the parents on as sponsors. If your parent really wants your kid or their kid to have access to the library, but they don't want to be responsible for assigning them books, then I would talk with them about having the organizational and individual membership. And so for your students who you feel are responsible and want to search the entire library, they've demonstrated they can download on their own independently. You're not worried about them losing their password, forgetting their password. You can add them as a individual member. And so that's still free. It just allows them to search the entire collection. The one thing I will note, we do restrict some content that we deem inappropriate for students under the age of 18. However, my version of inappropriate might not necessarily be your version of inappropriate. We really only restrict erotica. So your student may find some questionable material. So it's really, that's a discussion that you need to have with your school and your parents before you add the individual account. And you don't need to be an administrator to open up an account. You can be an educator, but I would definitely let your administrators know that you are using Bookshare with your students, and ask them if they want to be added to the account. Do adults with disabilities who are not in school pay to have access to the material? And so, yes, if they are not enrolled in a U.S. school, whether that be a rehab center or, college, community college, if they're taking an extracurricular class, they do have to pay. It's $50 a year. There are quite a few libraries across the country that do offer free membership. So if you're living in West Palm Beach and you wanted to sign up for Bookshare, you can actually get a free membership through their library. I know in Philadelphia, the Free Library of Philadelphia has a Bookshare membership or an organization account. So they will you can get a free membership through them. And so if you're interested in advocating for that in your hometown, just let me know. I'll forward you on to Surya Barker, or I can put her email in the chat and she can help you get set up with, how to pitch this to your library. All right. Yes. So let me go ahead and stop my screen. Got a ton of questions. Let me go ahead and view the chat because I've got 18 new messages. Yes. So right now, David McNally, to answer your question, it's up to you as the competent authority to determine whether or not your student benefits from accessible materials. So you leave that decision up to you. You can add your students or you can choose not to. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. It's Emily, E-M-I-L-Y. Hold on, I got to turn off my caps locks. Emily N @benetech.org, or you can email me. They both go to the same place, Emily N @bookshare.org. If you want copies of the PowerPoint, if you want to just pick my brain a little bit more, if you have a question, just feel free to reach out. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. If you have any suggestions about special collections, if you're interested in getting your district to get a district list on here, please do let me know. We're always looking to improve our services for you guys. Phenomenal. There's one tomorrow as well. There's a webinar on the same topic. It's how to use special collections as a parent. So if you have a student who's a Bookshare member who has an involved parent or a parent who wants to become more involved, please tell them about. All righty. Beautiful. All right, I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Bye. Is there a link for tomorrow's session? Yes. So if you want to go ahead, again, I believe this is on our Help Center. There should be a link in the Learning Center. Yes, the Bookshare webinars. So if you're interested in this webinar or any other webinars, we've got them right over here. A lot of them are asynchronous, so you can watch them on demand whenever you want, whenever you have free time, not when we are available. Because I don't know about you guys, but I've lost all concept of time in the past 6 months. All right, let me see if I have any others. I hope so too. David, let me know if you have any questions throughout this school year. Goes for everyone. Feel free to email me. All right. Yeah, if you have a teacher with a visual impairment, I would recommend actually signing up for, well, depends on how they want to use it. If they want to use it for leisure reading, they should definitely sign up. They can sign up as an individual member on Bookshare. You can, yeah, or you can, if the district has the district-wide account, they can definitely add themselves onto the account as an individual member, and that way they can look for books and share the books. And in that case, if you have a teacher with a visual impairment who is accessing Bookshare, they can most definitely share it in the classroom. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and log off. I will see y'all later.